Welcome to Gemara Academy. In this class, we'll present an overview on the first piece of Gemara in Masechta Shabbos, which is on Daf Beis Amud Aleph and Daf Beis Amud Beis. Let's begin with a general outline. The Gemara addresses why our Mishnah counted a total of 8 cases of Yetzias Shabbos, and the Mishnah in Shavuos counted a total of 4 cases of Yetzias Shabbos. The Gemara also explains how we can say Yetzias and count Achnasas, and there are 11 Tosfos. We're going to go through this overview, focusing on the Tosfos. The first Tosfos goes on where the Gemara presents the Mishnah from Masechta Shavuos, where it says Shavuos Shtayim Shein Arba, Yedias Atuma Shtayim Shein Arba, Maras Nagayim Shnayim Shein Arba, and Yetzias Shabbos Shtayim Shein Arba. And Tosfos explains which cases of Shavuos are counted. It says Shavuos Shtayim Shein Arba. There are 2 that are 4 cases. What are these cases? Tosfos also answers why more cases aren't counted by Shavuos. Why do we limit it to a total of 4 if there are more? And also in our Mishnah, why don't we count more cases? The next Tosfos is also on that Mishnah from Masechta Shavuos, and Tosfos explains why is it that they're called Yedias Atuma and not Halamas Atuma. The case is that the person had a Yediyah that he was Tamei, then there was a time of Helim, where he did not know that he was Tamei, he forgot that he was Tamei, and did something that he wasn't permitted to do. Why do we count the cases by the Yediyas and not by the Halamas? The next Tosfos is also on that Mishnah, and what Tosfos does is he addresses the seeming mix of Lashon Zachar and Lashon Nekeva in the sentence Maris Nagayim Shnayim. Maris is Lashon Nekeva and Shnayim is Lashon Zachar. Tosfos also answers why we only count the total of 4 cases of Maris Nagayim and not more. The next Tosfos is on the question of the Gemara. The Gemara asked why over there do we count a total of 4 cases for Shabbos and here we count 8. Tosfos explains that the whole question was on our Mishnah counting 8 cases, not on the Mishnah in Shavuos counting 4 cases. It would seem that the question is on the Mishnah in Shavuos. Why does it say there are 4 cases if there are 8? Tosfos explains that that's not the case. Rather, the question is on our Mishnah counting 8. We have no problem with the Mishnah in Shavuos counting 4 cases. The next Tosfos is on the first answer that the Gemara gave, which is that since our Mishnah is the main place to discuss the topic of Shabbos, it counts the Avos and the Tuldos of Eitzah. However, in Masechta Shavuos, it's not the main place to discuss the topic of Shabbos, and therefore the Mishnah only counts the Avos. Tosfos explains why then are the Tuldos of Tzaras counted in that Mishnah in Shavuos. Shavuos is not the main place to discuss the topic of Tzaras. So if we're not counting the Tuldos of Shabbos, because it's not the main place to discuss the topic of Shabbos, we shouldn't either count the Tuldos of Tzaras. Tosfos explains why it does count the Tuldos of Tzaras. The next Tosfos is on the part of the Gemara where we asked, if we're only counting the Avos in Shavuos, then you only have 2 cases, not 4, because the Avos of Shabbos, there's only one Av of Eitzah. There's only one Av when it comes to Eitzah, which is Eitzah, carrying out. So there's only 2 cases, the Ani carrying out and the Usher carrying out. How do we have 4? The Gemara says, and if you'll tell me that it's counting the cases of Eitzah, both that are Chayiv and those that are Pater, and then you get a total of 4. The Gemara said, if you're going to tell that to me, I'll respond that just like Maris Nagayim, the other case in the Mishnah and Shavuos, are all Chayiv, so too by Eitzah, they all need to be Chayiv. So Tosfos points out that the explanation that Rashi presents, when we said maybe it's counting the Eitzahs that are Chayiv and those that are Pater, the way Rashi presents what the cases of Chayiv and the cases of Pater are, is not consistent with Rashi's explanation earlier in the Mishnah and what he brings down at greater length later on in the Gemara. The next Tosfos is on the same piece of Gemara. And Tosfos basically explains, why do we say just like Maris and the Goyim are all Chayiv, so too by Yetzias Shabbos they all need to be Chayiv? Why don't we say just like Shavuos are all Chayiv, or just like Yedias Atuma are all Chayiv? Why do we use Maris and the Goyim as the example? The next Tosfos is on a question in the Gemara. The Gemara said, in its final answer, that since Shabbos is the main place to discuss the topic of Shabbos, therefore we counted the Chayiv cases and the Pater cases. However, Shavuos, since it's not the main place to discuss the topic of Shabbos, we only counted the Chayiv cases. So the Gemara said you only have 2 Chayiv cases, where the Ani does Eitzah, where the Usher does Eitzah. The Gemara answered, we're also counting the Achnasa cases of Chayiv, where the Ani did Achnasa and the Usher did Achnasa. So we have 4 cases, Eitzah and Achnasa of the Ani, and Eitzah and Achnasa of the Usher. The Gemara asked, how can you say that it includes Hachnasa, Vayetzias Katani, but it says Yetzias? So Tosfos explains that this question is only on the Mishnah in Shavuos, where we must say Hachnasas are included. In order to find 4 cases that are Chayiv in Masechta Shavuos, we must say there are 2 Eitzahs and 2 Achnasas. So the question comes up, how can you say that it includes Achnasas if it says Yetzias? However, the question is not on our Mishnah. Our Mishnah says Yetzias HaShabbos, and then says Shtayim Shin Arba B'Fnim, Shtayim Shin Arba B'Chutz. Tosfos says the fact that we count 8 cases and say Yetzias doesn't indicate that Yetzias includes Achnasas, because we can actually find 8 cases of Haitzah. The next Tosfos is on the part of the Gemara that says that explains its answer. The answer was that the Tana Hachnasa, when talking about Hachnasa, Nami Haitzah Kakarila, it also calls it Haitzah. And the Gemara says, how do we know this? Mimai, Meditanan, because it says in the Mishnah, in Periklal Gadol, when it counts the Lamates Avis Malachas, the Mishnah finishes off with the last Malacha, Hamaitzi Rishus L'Rishus, one who removes from one Rishus to another Rishus. There he uses the word Hamaitzi, and it's also including Hachnasa. So we see that when the Tana talks about Achnasa, he calls it Haitzah. So Tosfos explains how we know that the Mishnah includes Achnasa when it says Hamaitzi. We're saying that Mishnah says Hamaitzi and includes Achnasa. Who said it includes Achnasa? Tosfos will explain how we know it. Tosfos will also explain another question. Why is it that a Mishnah that speaks about the Lamates Avis Malachas and doesn't count any Tuldas, counts one Tulda though, the Tulda of Eitzah? Why is it that it counts the Tulda of Eitzah, which is Achnasa, in the Mishnah that speaks about the Lamates Avis Malachas? The next Tosfos is on the piece of Gemara that says, also our Mishnah brings out this point that the Tana says Yetzias even though he's speaking about Achnasas, because our Mishnah says Yetzias HaShabbos, the word Yetzia, which is like Eitzah, and then the first case it counts is Pashat Ha'ani Yasadi Lefnim V'Nasan L'Seich Yadesh L'Balabais. The Ani did Hachnasa. So Tosfos will explain why we don't bring a proof from an earlier part of the Mishnah. Look, the Mishnah said Yetzias and then said there was 8 cases. How could you have 8 cases of Yetzia? There must be some Achnasa cases there. Why didn't we bring that as our proof that when the Tana speaks about Achnasa, he calls it Yetzias? And the last and final Tosfos is on the answer of Rava. Rava responds to the question that we asked: how can you say that Achnasa is included in the Mishnah if it says Yetzias HaShabbos? Rava answers that when it says Yetzias, it doesn't mean Yetzias as in Haitzah. In the Mishnah, when it says Yetzias, rather it means Rishuyos, and it's referring to Rishus HaYachid and Rishus HaRabim. So Tosfos explains how to understand Yetzias HaShabbos Shtayim according to this. How do we read the word Shtayim? He'll present the explanation of Rashi, disagree with him, and present his own explanation. He also explains where do we find that Yetzias can mean Rishuyos? What's the source for that? And with this we finish the general overview of the first Sugya